You're listening to the podcast called What No One Knows. I'm your host, Lisa Marie Garcia. Please join us as I talk with some of the most important influencers, from entrepreneurs to C-suites to founders to venture capitalists. You will want to know their answer to the question, what no one knows. Thank you for joining. Okay, hello, this is Lisa Marie Garcia, and we are on the podcast called What No One Knows, and I'm here in studio at the Wave Studio 1 in the Tampa Bay offices in downtown sunny Tampa today. It's a beautiful day, and I'm with our guest, Jamie Sewell. So, did I say that right?
Yes.
Sorry, David. You don't have to edit this out. I said it right. Sorry.
Yeah, Sewell.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sewell, there you go. Thank you so much for being here. Jamie, I'm very excited to talk with you. You've got such a vast and exciting background, if I do say so, after learning more about you. So let's just jump right in. You actually, as representing one of the cohort type guests that we interview here on the show, you actually were one of the very first cohorts. You said it was 2015, is that right?
That's right.
So talk about the company that you were one of the co-founders with and your experience way back when.
So I was one of the three original founders for a company called Wash Lava, which ended up opening the world's first completely cashless laundromat. So the only way to use our equipment was to download an app and pay through the app. So you had to reserve and pay for your laundry or your washers and dryers with a smartphone. So in 2015, that was pretty revolutionary. And we had our initial office out of the old Wave building, and I think it was really when the cohorts were just kind of getting going, and the whole Wave team really adopted us and kind of took us under their wing. And it was really a very pivotal time in 2015 and 2016 working out of Wave and really forging some really good connections that honestly I still have today.
Well, and so let's stay kind of around the whole cashless laundry system and the clean vibes laundry of today now, and kind of take us through that journey professionally. Yes, your bio is in the show notes and that, but just kind of take us through your career and how you came to today.
Yeah. Well, to really get the full picture, you have to go back to 2012. And in 2012, I was living in Chicago. My husband was in business school in Chicago, and I got recruited by a recruiter to work for the Coin Laundry Association. And I hadn't used a laundromat since college, and I'm like, well, whatever, where I'm in Chicago, I'll take this job for like a year or two, and, then I'll go do something else. And I started with them, and I thought I had made a horrible mistake accepting this job. And so I oversaw marketing for them, and it just was like kind of a culture shock because previously I'd worked for a couple of tech companies like Dell Computers and a touchscreen technology manufacturer. So I was very much in the tech space. And to go work for, something that at the time was 94% coin operated. So it was all quarters, and almost no one used a credit card. It was just kind of a culture shock. And as fate would have it, I did not leave the Coin Laundry Association right away. And then I thought, I'm going to leave this industry and I'm going to go actually work for Raymond James. And in the meantime, I got an offer to come start Wash Lava with these two other folks. And I had a motto that the first door that opens, if it makes sense, go through it. And so that's what I did. We started with Wash Lava out of Wave, and it was really cool and exciting, and really, I think all consumers, for the most part, if they had to use washers and dryers, were like, "Yeah, this makes total sense. We're in. This is so cool." But of course, fundraising is a different story. We can get into that later. But that really set me up for success with those two roles. I then went on to lead technology initiatives for Alliance Laundry Systems, which is the world's biggest commercial equipment manufacturer. So it's kind of like building a platform like Apple CarPlay, but for laundromat owners. So I oversaw that really, really cool program, worked with owners all over the whole world, including like Japan, Australia, Asia, Europe.
And this is in what year? What years?
So this
would
is
you
like
say
2018 to 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And then COVID happened. And, many of us, myself included, were, given a surprise. And I ended up consulting with laundromat owners that had many locations all over the country. And then I decided, you know what, this really isn't bringing me joy. I don't think this is my long-term path and purpose. And so I said, I really want to become a coach because I just loved coaching my team at my previous company and seeing them grow. So I completely left laundry and I became a coach. And in the meantime, though, I kept kind of getting hired here and there for laundry consulting gigs. I know, I couldn't get away. And, then I was like, what would go really well with my coaching business is a laundromat.
Of course.
Perfect. Because it's like semi-passive income and, not set hours. And so I said, well, that would be perfect. So I ended up buying a laundromat in Tampa Heights. And at the time, I actually was living in Ohio. So I purchased this laundromat and was running it from Ohio. I had a 5-month-old baby, and I was consulting for another laundry company at the same time. So it was kind of chaos. But yeah, we figured it out, and now I've got the laundromat, and then I've got a marketing and consulting business for laundromat owners. And then I'm also still a coach.
Just a few things that you're taking care of, right?
Yeah.
Did you, and this, I might be failing here on my memory, but when we spoke before, are you also looking for a second laundry? Did you say something about that?
Well, I do have another business in laundry that I want to start.
Okay.
But I need to, cool my boots for a minute and work on the ones that I have first.
Okay. Might be a good idea, but you can run fast, it sounds like to me, so I think you could handle all of that. But okay, well, thank you for taking us through that, and I didn't know if you'd get to the coaching, which is your current profession, part of your current professional endeavors right now, but you did. I wanted to ask you because you said that part of the reason you became a coach was that you enjoyed that element while you were grooming and coaching your internal team. Was it also maybe part of you enjoyed the satisfaction of helping the other laundromat owners and bringing them to where they needed to go? I mean, was there that element a part of who you are that you enjoyed?
I think so. One of the things, maybe it's cliche, I don't know, but it's always like you're right where you need to be. And I think that's so true. Working with laundromat owners and all of my other jobs was like deeply satisfying, and I just really loved those aspects of my work. And so actually I've blended my coaching with my marketing and consulting that I do for laundromat owners. So it is this very holistic partnership that we have where because I've been trained and certified as a coach, I do have this other set of skills that ends up going into everything that I do. I also use my coaching skills a lot with my own laundromat employees. Minimum wage employees often have a lot of life happening and challenges that they're overcoming, and having the background and the insight into, how our brains work, and how to show up as our best selves, that coaching has really helped with my laundromat too.
Well, the common denominator in all of this is people.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's so interesting that what you just said, because, and I'm trying to remember when this came up, but somehow this came up, maybe it was last week on someone I was talking to, it might have been actually on a podcast, where I was saying, I wish my daughters, they're both in university right now studying different things and that's STEM related, but I think I said something like, I wish they would also get a minor in psychology or something people, human nature related, because that skill and what you just talked about, being able to understand, empathize, coach, encourage, help people is a huge part of being successful or not having those skills not being.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is wonderful. It is wonderful that you've got these extra skills and you're cultivating your extra coaching skills, and it helps you in all areas, including parenting. So let's go there for a minute. Let's go there for a minute. So you have a son today's his birthday. You said 2 years old.
He's 2, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so wonderful. And so you're a working mom. How has that been for you? Because it sounds like, and not just a working mom with one job, but multiple endeavors and all that you do, plus being a spouse and that. Talk to any of the listeners that are right in there with the littles, I call them. And 2 is a little. He's a human being that needs 24/7 help.
Yes, he does.
Speak to the working mom.
Well, they always say God gives you doesn't give you more than you can handle. And what I always say is that God must not think I can handle very much because he's just a gem. So he's definitely probably in many ways the easiest part of my life. So that's a blessing. But I do think that, so I'm a little bit older. My husband and I actually, our 17th wedding anniversary is on Friday. And I think being an older parent actually helped me a lot. Like when you became mobile, I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have done this when I was younger. But it really has helped me a lot because I've worked through some of my stuff. And so I have more capacity to be with him where he's at with his stuff. One of the best pieces of advice that one of my friends gave me was follow his lead. And that has just been immensely helpful for me because it's not so much me imposing what I think he should be doing on him. It really is like creating the space to let him kind of be who he is and like be in the moment with him.
So like can you give me an example? I love that. I hadn't heard of that as a parenting idea at all with as much reading that I did and all that. So like give us an example of following his lead like.
Yeah. Well, I think the best way to explain this is actually where I tried to impose my will on him, and it's one of the only times, and it backfired miserably. I decided that it was time for him to walk. So he was like he was a crawler, and he was doing all the things, and he should have been walking, but he wasn't walking
according to something.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere, right?
Yeah, and so I would say to him, I'm like, it's time for you to walk. Like, you should be able to walk. Like, it's time for you to go. And literally every time I would say that, he would just start crying and he would throw himself on the floor, and it was like after like the third or fourth time, I was like, I think I'm not listening here. Like, this kid doesn't want to. Like, what am I going to do? Make him walk right now? He doesn't want to. And like literally, what is so important about having him walk, at 12 or 13 months? Like,
a toddler being more mobile? No.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so that was like the best kind of like contrast to be like, this like really doesn't work. So like, how about we just create the space and we just follow him, and he hits all the milestones, and honestly it's just been really easy and joyful to watch him grow. But that's been the best thing, is just like, all right,
that's a great,
what do I know?
That's a great example. And he's your first and only so far, right?
Yes.
And so you just reminded me. Well, let me go back to the older mom, because I was the same. I was married 10 years before we had our first daughter of the 2, and I do agree with you. The time gave me wisdom and patience. And then so that I know for sure was a really important part of my motherhood initially. And then like you said, you've kind of worked out, or you know yourself better, where
Right.
it's not all about everything I want. Now I can invest into, thank goodness, my daughters and
Right.
that. So I do agree with that. But I do think, any age, it takes a ton of energy. It takes a ton of, right? More than you even
true.
want to think about it sometimes. And I think that can be accomplished, at any age. But it's funny when you were talking about that he didn't want to walk. So I remember with my firstborn, we tried to, force her to learn how to swim. So it was, and I think there was also that you should be able to walk now. I mean,
Right.
is that just everybody like, well, now you're crawling, now you should be able to walk. But the big mistake we made is that we were going on the Disney cruise. And it said in something she had to be potty trained. And she wasn't really old enough yet. So we bought this book. I had help at the time. And it was like, have a potty training party.
Yeah.
And we did all that. Well, come on. Really? You can't force that. But, you couldn't tell me that at the time. So, yeah, it's a very good example. Let them do what they need to do in the time they need
Yeah.
to do it, and go figure. It's going to be much easier and work out.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like I've seen that so much in like my business too. It's like a younger me would try to like force and like will things to happen, and you power through. Like that's one of the messages that we've gotten, right? Is like you got to power through. But the fact is that sometimes things just like line up and they sync up, and in ways that you never could control. And so I feel like one of the things that I've worked on in my businesses, and I'm still working on it, is like really, kind of like, okay, here's where I want to go. Set your intention, and then kind of create space for things to happen. Because I think when we try to control and impose our will, and have and just supercharge it, we don't create space for possibility. And
Right.
so, if you're so focused on, I've got to do this thing, you could be standing next to like an investor who's looking to invest in your kind of company. But if you're so fixated on, I need to find an investor, then, maybe you're, emailing or whatever. And instead of like, talking to the person, standing in the corner.
Right.
So that's something I've really tried to do, is create space for possibility.
Well, and I think about it goes back to what you were saying, where if you're so invested in yourself and your direction, you also then become too invested in your perception and your biases.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and how can you not? It is who we are. But if you're trying to find out what the other person's perception is and where they're coming from and what they're trying to communicate to you, like, for instance, boy, I'm interested in possibly funding your venture.
Right.
You're not going to hear that. And so you're not going to be able to respond
miss it.
positively to it. I love that. And again, it's back to the people. So let's talk a little bit more about people. So just to kind of stay on the various laundromat owners, founders, business owners, of that you were helping. Would you say there was a common denominator that would come up when you were working with them, where it would be like a red flag to maybe their mindset, or a red flag to their perception, or that kind of would somehow would keep popping up, that you could recognize, that you could kind of help people with?
Yeah, I actually just yesterday I was working with a client who's very much she was fixated on like solving this one problem, and I said to her, well, did you ask the GC? Because she had an issue with her shower, so she's gone through three contractors with her shower, and I said, well, did you ask the GC if he's got any recommendations for you for the laundromat? And she was like, well, I don't like to mix business and personal. And I'm like, well, I don't think he's going to mind, giving
He's a general
you some
contractor.
thoughts
Yeah,
on your shower, and it was like, oh, I never really had thought about it like that, because I didn't want to mix business with personal, was what she was thinking. So it does come up a lot. And I think that, a coach always like just has the ability to see your blind spots. And I think that's part of the value of, working with somebody A lot of my laundromat clients, I don't do as much kind of like, personal mindset coaching. We tend to work more on the marketing and business operations and brand and stuff like that. But the mindset piece does still kind of pop in, right? That human element, it always pops in. And so it's just, finding ways to, one, kind of stay in my lane, so to speak, but also facilitate what is hopeful in their development, if that makes sense.
So it's more, yes, I think I understand it. And so it's more of, and we'll have this sometimes come up with clients where it's that they really they don't change their mindset, right? Or they're not seeing around what could be the reason that they're not taking one of our ideas or exploring a different way. And there's only a couple times that, we'll try to influence them. But then at the end of the day, at least in our, in our line, it is their book, it is their decision.
Yep.
And so sometimes it's positive and sometimes it could be not so positive. So, so what would you say then? We have many people that listen to this are entrepreneurs, starting a new business, startups, and even people that have been involved with the Wave, like the new cohort groups. What would you say is a professional skill that only experience has taught you, or some, through all that you've done in your background?
Yeah. One, nobody's coming to save you.
That's very good.
Nobody's coming to save you, and I think, going back to the coaching, it's so important to have personal responsibility, and I think most people are aware, like, oh, okay, I messed up, I'll take responsibility for that. But what I'm saying here with the no one's coming to save you is like, what is your decision? Like, are you going to decide how to figure this out? Are you committed to like getting messy and following it through and just figuring it out? I think one of the things, even when we were my startup with Wave, I think we kind of put a little bit too much expectation on Wave. I think we thought, okay, Wave's gonna, connect us with investors, and they're gonna, give us like the magic bullet for how to raise, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we did raise millions of dollars, but it really is our responsibility, and I think that we've got to keep that in mind. And I think the only way to really develop the determination to, hey, this is my business and I'm going to build it, in the way that I think it should be built. The only real way to do that is, I think, challenges, because it helps to clarify what your beliefs are, what your expectations are, and then you get to decide, am I really committed to this? Or actually this is helping me to see something that I didn't see before, and actually I should go in a different direction. Yeah, no, it helps define it, like you said. The challenges help you define it, and also tests you, like you said, it tests you to, am I really going to dig in? Mm-hmm. Am I going to continue this really, really steep uphill? Or, okay, no thank you. I've been knocked down 3 times. 3 is my number. I'm going to stay dead. Yep. I'm going to stay lying down. No, I love it. And, the idea when you said personal responsibility, to me, I thought you were going with the accountability. I love that you went to the commitment. Are you really committed? Yeah. Because anyone that is successful knows that it's, more than 100% commitment. It's, 24/7. One of my, not favorite stories, but one of the true life stories for my company was, it was co-founded, it was 2 of us in the publishing company, and my co-founder resigned like 10 months in because she didn't realize that being an entrepreneur and a business owner is 24/7, even if you have children, even if you have this or this or this or this, it's still you're stepping up and you're doing, like you said, full commitment for 24/7 kind of business. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very cool.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we are nearly out of time. There's so much more we were going to talk about. I'm sorry, you have to come back. But let me ask you the last. Okay, cool. Let me ask you the question that we ask with the show. So, what can you share that no one knows?
It almost stumped me. I was like, oh, what is my answer to this? And I was thinking about it. And I have high-functioning ADHD. And I would say that actually all of my clients have high-functioning ADHD. And I would say that many entrepreneurs are high-functioning ADHD, right? Because we're interested in many things. We're good at many things. We like to go fast, all of those things. And entrepreneurship requires all of that. But one of the beliefs that I had was that I left things unfinished, like, oh, I'm all over the place. And what I've realized is that what is for you will always come back around. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I would be like, I didn't finish this. I didn't finish this. I started this and I didn't finish it. And I can tell you now that all of the important things that I left unfinished in the past are now, if they're important, they're being finished now. And that's, we're talking like years later. I feel like life comes in cycles. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it wasn't important for me to finish it at the time. I thought it was, but it couldn't make it happen. And so I thought I abandoned it or I failed it. And what I've realized is, no, those were stepping stones. And now the important things are being finished. And I'm sure I'll have other things that I won't finish right now, and I might finish them in 5 years. I have no idea. But that's I think the important thing is that, what's important is always going to come back around. You're not going to miss it.
I agree with that 100%. Tons of wisdom there. You should be a coach. Why don't you start a coaching business?
Good idea.
Yeah, thank you. No. All right. Being silly here in the studio, but thank you so much, Jamie, for being here. Thank you all for listening to What No One Knows.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to our show, What No One Knows. If you'd like more information regarding our guests, it's in the description below, as well as if you'd like to work with our publishing and promotion team, that you can also find in the links. Thank you.